Good evening, everybody. We want to thank you for joining us again for our second round of Career Talk. We are super excited to be bringing this to you again. So, I want to start off by saying a little bit about who I am and what I do. My name is Abby, and I'm with Steps Foundation, Inc. Our nonprofit is set up to provide family engagement, empowerment, youth development, and youth leadership. So we're excited again to bring to you another edition of Career Talk. So with me, I have Miss Melissa Myers from Just Right Consulting.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back.
Hello. And I see we have somebody viewing. So if you are watching, definitely leave a message in the comments so that we know that you are here with us. And I'm checking the comment section because I know last week we had a problem with the comments where we couldn't see when everybody was commenting. So I got two different things set up so that we can see if we're able to see comments tonight for live. Okay. So we want to start off with a recap of last week's session because last week was super, super powerful. Whoo, girl, it got good and it got deep real quick. We know like it was a lot to cover last week. I mean, we kind of just dived into a little bit of everything that most people typically ask when it comes to resumes and interviewing and how to get into the job and, you know, kind of the do's and the don'ts and what people look for and how we end up getting turned away. We kind of touched on a little bit of everything. So, we are just very excited about bringing this to you and just making sure that everybody is equipped and ready for their next step in career. If they're not working, you know, how we can get you employed. You know, we're just looking at being informational and giving you facts and helping you to reach your next goal and your next step. Got anything you want to add to that, Melissa?
Well, I'm excited because tonight we're going to really dig deep on resume writing and how to write a resume. We're going to cover, you know, a lot of the things that we think that's right, but it's not right, you know, and it may prevent us from getting called, you know, for an opportunity that we applied for. So, yes, so that's what we're going to dig in deep tonight. We're going to talk about resume writing and just hoping that I'll be able to help everyone. And if you have any questions, feel free to put it in the chat.
And I'm still looking at our at the comment section. So right now I still don't see anything. So I'm hoping that nobody is leaving messages and I'm just not seeing them.
Right. You know what? I'm going to send something. You see it?
Yes, see it, test. Okay, got it.
Yes.
Beautiful, because I just want to make sure we're not missing nobody. So I know last week when we went live, we had Kayi was joining us too. And one of her questions that we missed that I definitely want to make sure that we answered this week is she asked, what happens at the follow-up or what should they do to follow up? And I know that I think when she asked that question, that was right in the section of where we were talking about interviewing and what happens after the interview.
Exactly. And the most important thing is that's very important to do the follow-up after the interview, right? Because you want to show the employer or the hiring manager that you are still interested, that you were engaged. So sending a follow-up email, just kind of saying, hey, I'm still interested, but you want to take it a step further. You want to give a recap on the conversation that you guys had during the interview, you know, saying things like, when we discuss the metrics or whatever it may be, you want to kind of engage and kind of, put some bullet points on the conversation that you had to let them know, hey, I was listening. Hey, I'm really interested,
right.
And then it's a perfect opportunity because we've all been to that interview and we leave and say, dang it, I forgot to mention this. I forgot to tell them about this. That follow-up email is the great chance and the opportunity to say, hey, we were discussing this and I pondered on it further. And in my career, I said, I achieved this, or I achieved that, so that gives you an opportunity to talk about your experience that you may have missed during the interview.
Exactly. And I see Angela has commented. She said, absolutely. And
yes,
hi,
Angela.
I think a lot of times, a lot of opportunities get missed because people just assume that hiring managers don't read the emails or that they're uninterested or what have you. But I do know a lot of people that have gotten hired because they sent a follow-up email or because they made the follow-up phone call. It shows that you're interested. It shows that you're persistent. And it shows that you want it, as where other candidates are just continuing to look for other positions at other companies. So I think, too, that it is very important when you do the follow-up so that they know that you're still interested and it's what you actually want.
Exactly. And then the whole thing about it, you want to be in the recruiter's memory, in the hiring manager's memory, right? They're dealing with dozens of candidates on a weekly basis, and let's say that you didn't do something during the interview that made you stand out, right? That follow-up email is an opportunity to make you stand out, or to keep them in your memory bank. So that's what you want to do. It's extremely important to do a follow-up.
Agreed. Hello, Balo. I see people are joining us. And again, if you are joining us, feel free to say hi in the comments. We're definitely excited to have you. If you have questions about resume writing or anything dealing with career, feel free to drop it in the chat and we'll answer it live. Like, we are super excited to have you join us. It's definitely a good learning experience for all of us. So we're excited.
Very excited. Welcome, guys.
So we are going to dive right into talking about resumes. We're going to spend this entire session doing just that, talking about resumes and what you need to have your resume intact and making sure that it's viable when you're sending it out to other candidates. Hi, Minister Daryl. We see you. I'm sorry, Balo, this is not a marriage channel, so we can't help you with marriage material, but we can help you with career.
Right. So pretty much tonight, like Abby said, we're going to cover resume writing, right? We're going to cover the myths. We're going to cover common mistakes. We're going to cover the things that's going to assist you on writing an effective resume. Everyone says, like, you have to write the perfect resume. That's what's going to grab the attention. But what is a perfect resume? You need that direction. You need that assistance, right? So tonight we're going to give that direction and that assistance on how to write an effective resume. And what I want to start off with is the resume myths, right? There are myths, that's out there that people follow when they're writing a resume. And it actually hurts you. These myths hurt you when you're creating your resume and you're submitting the resume to a position. You're going to get overlooked. You're not going to get the call from the recruiter or the hiring manager. So I'm going to go over a few of these myths. So one myth is grade point average is a top consideration. A recruiter or a hiring manager rarely ever ask you about your grade point average when you earn your degree. That's a necessary space to write on your resume. They're just going to look to see your degree is completed. They're going to verify it during the background check. That's all they care about. 9 times out of 10, they want you to have experience along with the degree. So grade point average is not a necessity to put on your resume. A resume should only be 1 page in length. Again, this is another myth. If you have the experience, don't worry about page length, because you may cut out some of your experience that may be vital to you getting the position. So personally, my resume is 3 pages long. I have 20 years of experience. I cannot fit my experience onto one page.
One page,
I'm going to
yeah.
leave, right. I'm going to leave something out that's going to be extremely important that will help me get that position. So that is a myth. If you have to do 2 pages, do 2. If you have to do 3, do 3. But make sure those pages are with substance. You know, don't just put in fluff. Make sure it's with substance and discussing, you know, your experience, your skill set, programs you've worked on, and things like that. Make sure it's substance. Your achievements should be highlighted separate from your work experience. That's another myth. Most people tend to, when they write their position, right? I worked at McDonald's, right, as a cook. Well, they'll put their achievements in one section, but they'll put literally like a job description, a bunch of bullet points looking more like a job description than versus your achievements, goals you've met, metrics you've met, things you've accomplished at that job. Recruiters and hiring managers want to see your achievements at that position. Not just my job was to prepare burgers or to provide exceptional customer service. What you want to say is, I met a particular time frame in, you know, serving, you know, burgers. You know, I met the goal of serving 100 burgers in one day or within an hour. You want to say, I had an award for presenting exceptional customer service to the customers that came into McDonald's, you know, so you want to be more specific on your achievements at that job versus just bullet pointing job description.
Yes.
Resume, another resume myth, that your resume should have your entire work history. That is a myth. There may be positions that's not necessarily have anything to do with the job that you're applying for. So you want to be more specific on what you are applying for versus wasting space, right? So if there are positions that has nothing to do with the job that you're applying for, guess what? You want to utilize that space and focus on the experience that you have for the position that you're applying for. Let's see here. We discussed this, I believe, last week. Your resume should be a general resume, as it will increase your chances of landing a job. No. You may have to have, yes, you may have to have multiple resumes. Using the same resume for every position that you apply for will not heighten your chances, you know, in being called in for a position, you know, or landing that job or landing that interview. You may have to change your resume up specifically to that position. The main reason why, and we talked about that last week, you have applicant tracking systems that will automatically refuse your resume or reject your resume because it didn't have key buzzwords. So guess what? You want to make sure that your resume have those key buzzwords when you're applying for particular positions.
Yes.
Let's see here. Paper resumes are enough. We are in an age to where digital, you know, having your resume on LinkedIn, having your resume on Career Builder, on Monster, on Indeed, you know, recruiters, there are positions out there that recruiters are looking to fill that's not even posted on the web. So you have to put yourself in a position to be found. So creating a LinkedIn, creating, you know, a Career Builder account, a Monster account, that is very important because guess what? Us recruiters use those databases to find you for positions. So you want to do that.
I want to ask a question real quick because I know we have a couple people who are watching. How many of you actually have a LinkedIn account?
Right.
So let's see if we get some responses. Because I will say I was not a fan of LinkedIn.
Right.
When I was in college, for my bachelor's program, they actually had a career program that we had to go through, because one of the issues, of course, that they have is that when college students are getting ready to graduate, how hard it is for them to find a job in the particular field that they're graduating in. Angela said, yes, she has a LinkedIn account.
Yes, yes. Great job, Angela.
Do you actually use your LinkedIn account, or did you create it and leave it hanging?
You got to keep your LinkedIn account updated. Because
they made us create our LinkedIn account, and I created it, never used it again, right? Because I was like, every job that I looked for, I went out, I looked on Indeed, or found them on Craigslist, or, what have you. And I went about it that way, not really utilizing LinkedIn because I didn't understand for what LinkedIn did. And, now in this day and age, we see how important LinkedIn is and how many people get opportunities from LinkedIn that we didn't necessarily get before. So I think now it's important for a lot of people who aren't utilizing LinkedIn to start learning how to use LinkedIn and what it actually entails. And one of the great things that I will say, if you do not have a LinkedIn account, you can go ahead and set it up. And Microsoft is phenomenal because they actually have LinkedIn classes, and they're all free. So they'll train you on how to use LinkedIn, how to set it up, and what they have other workshops that basically go in depth on how to upkeep your LinkedIn accounts.
And I'm going to tell you, Angela, she said she's contacted weekly by recruiters. That's what we do. The position is not out there. It's not posted, but we know, like, for example, we're already preparing for a position before we even post it online or post it on a company site or whatever it may be, because we've already talked to the hiring manager, and the hiring manager is saying, you know what, in the next couple of weeks or the next 30 days, we're going to need a new receptionist, right? So we're already being proactive, and we're searching the LinkedIn accounts, the Indeed accounts, the career builders and things like that, building that pipeline of individuals to go ahead, and because we have goals we have to meet as recruiters, we have metrics, how many days, how quickly we can fill these roles. So we're already on the clock. As soon as we find out about that position, guess what? We're searching LinkedIn. Who can we find? Who can we contact? Because we have a clock to beat, right? So that's very important, because that's our go-to. We go to LinkedIn. I think LinkedIn we go to first. That's the very first database that we go to find candidates. So you definitely want to look, keep your LinkedIn updated. 90% of the positions that I've held, I was sought out. I didn't even apply for them. And guess how they found me? Through LinkedIn. So you want to have your LinkedIn account updated.
Nice. Sorry, I just had to jump in on that one, because I know we talk about LinkedIn, but then a lot of people don't utilize LinkedIn, and especially not to its capacity. So I kind of just wanted to, jump in there and touch on that one.
Yes. So I'm gonna fly through some of these myths. Don't include your social media information, and let's touch on social media. Let's touch on social media. You think you can't be found. You think your page is private. Us recruiters always find a way to get into your social media. And unfortunately, we judge your character by your social media. Now, I don't go as far as searching for someone on their social media until I have maybe 2 or 3 candidates. They're all, they're good, and I only have one position to fill, right? So normally social media is my icebreaker, because I'm like, okay, dang, they're all good. Who do I choose? I go to the social media, right? And unfortunately, it's not fair in a sense, to judge someone's character by their social media, but recruiters do it all the time. So you want to keep your social media clean, or put your social media name under an alias. Don't use your real name. Just do an alias. You can't be found under an alias. But recruiters they do look at your social media page all the time. And you wonder why, when you're like, oh my God, the interview went great. The hiring manager, I nailed the questions. I did fantastic. I don't know what happened. 9 times out of 10, that's what happened. They went to your social media.
See, Angela says she be spying on people's social media, and it's true. Like, I myself have done it. Like, when we're looking at candidates and you're like, hey, this person looks amazing. And, you always get that inkling, sometimes something feels too good to be true. So you start searching because, before you bring them into your company and they make a bad name for your company, you're looking to see what have you been doing? Because at the end of the day, yes, it's your social media. Yes, it's you, and yes, it's yours, but it's also how you represent yourself. You're now going to be representing that company. So if you're doing bad representation for yourself,
exactly,
you can only imagine what kind of way you would represent the company, and especially if you're in company clothing.
And think about it. Social media now, in the climate that we're in, are getting people fired from their jobs.
Yes.
So if a social media post can get you fired from your job, it can prevent you from getting hired at that company as well. So you want to keep that in mind.
Indeed.
So another thing is, and this is kind of one of the recruiters' peeves in a sense. It's not a big peeve, but I'm not going to speak for all recruiters. I'm just going to speak for myself. When people send their resume, when candidates send their resume, they send it as a PDF because they're like, oh, okay, I'm sending it as a PDF. No one can change my resume, this, that, and the other, right? It's always best to send a Word document because guess what? When you're talking with the recruiter and we're having that conversation on the phone and we're asking you those questions, there may be something on your resume that you didn't put on there, but we dug out during conversation. We want to be able to add that quickly to your resume before we submit it on your behalf to the hiring manager. So always submit your resume send the resume in a Word format. So we definitely want to do that.
And see, that's a good myth that you brought up, because I think a lot of people were taught to submit as PDFs for that reason, so that others don't change it. So I think that's awesome to tell people, because I think in one of my classes, I think we were taught to submit PDF.
Yeah, right. And the thing is, like, for example, like, let's say you and I were having an interview, I'll have your resume up and I'm like, oh, they didn't put that on there. Okay, let me add that. We will quickly update your resume for you, because guess what? We want to fill that position. We want to get that position off our plate. And another myth, a huge myth that people have is they think that they don't have to impress the recruiter. You have to impress the recruiter. The recruiter determines whether or not your resume is presented to the hiring manager. We're not going to present you if we feel like you're going to make us look bad. So we will take the time if we like you and we have a great conversation and we feel in our gut that you're going to do great, for the position and be an asset to the company. Guess what? We'll update your resume for you. We'll make those additions. We'll even go as far as giving you tips on how to nail the interview. You want to make the recruiter your best friend. Even if you don't land that position, if you gain a great relationship with the recruiter, guess what? They're going to continue to have you in the back of their mind. When a new position comes up, they're going to give you a call and say, hey, we got a new position. I think you'll be great for it. Can I go ahead and submit you? So you want to have that great relationship with the recruiter. Let's see. Grammatical errors. People think, oh, don't sweat it. No big deal. Well, guess what? If you don't take the time to correct your resume and fine tune it, with errors, if it has a bunch of errors, guess what they're going to think? Well, that's how you're going to be on the job. you're not going to do a great job because you're not paying attention to detail. So you want to make sure that your resume is on point when it comes down to errors.
Good evening, Paul. I see you speaking.
Hi, Paul.
And it's true, because I've seen where there have been a lot of people who have sent resumes with grammatical errors, and I pass them up, because if we're hiring for HR positions or we're hiring for admin positions, those things are important, because you're going to be the one sending out letters or contracts or important information to other people, and especially outside of the company. So if you can't take the time to proofread your resume, then we're looking at it as you won't take the time to proofread anything that you send out in the company name. And then in the end, it makes us look bad as a company if you're sending it out on our behalf, but you haven't even bothered to proofread it.
Exactly. Now, Abigail, that's such a great point, because it definitely depends on the position. I've recruited for construction workers, right? General labor, and it will have mistakes all over the resume. But I'm not hiring them for that. I'm not hiring them to be a proofreader. You know, it's not like they're going to be working on documentation. I'm more concerned about their skill set. You know, when it comes down, can you build this building and it not fall down? That's what I'm more worried about, not about, So it definitely depends on the position that you're applying for, to where we as recruiters and hiring managers are very particular, when it comes down to your resume.
Yes.
So let's cover common resume mistakes. Okay. Once again, the spelling and the errors, right? Incorrect or missing contact information. We need to be able to contact you, using a professional email address. Hot mama, 2020 will not. I'm trying to behave tonight, but
I'm sorry. As soon as you started touching on, the common resume mistakes, in the back of my head, I'm sitting here thinking of every resume that I've seen in email addresses.
Create a separate email for your job search that you use specifically when you apply for positions,
Yes.
From your personal email. Let's see.
Formatting, because there are times when I have seen resumes come through and you got large font over here, super small font over here, but then there are bullet points all in the same thing. Or you got one of your positions in bullet points and another position not in bullet points. Keep your resume consistent, formatted the same way.
Yes, that was on my list. Yes. Including a headshot. Do not put your picture on the resume. I'm going to be very transparent when I say this. That leaves too much room for discrimination. Don't do it. Don't put your headshot. I don't care how professional you look, how beautiful you may be. I mean, heck, you could be, a very beautiful individual or very handsome. It may be someone that's jealous, like, oh, they're hot. I don't want them on my team, or their race or your age, so it leaves too much room for discrimination. It's a waste of space. Do not include a picture of yourself on your resume.
My thing is, if you're not going for a modeling position or acting position,
correct,
it should not be there. We've had a 3-page resume full of pictures.
Right. Exactly. Right.
While it is entertaining, it is not necessary, nor is it a part of the job description for which a person is hiring for. So it's definitely not necessary.
Now, another thing these are some did you knows, right? And I think one of them we already touched on. A recruiter or hiring manager will only spend seconds reviewing your resume. Once again, hundreds of individuals have applied for the same position. And guess what? The recruiting or the hiring manager won't have time to go through them all. but they want to get through as many as they can. You have to create your resume that's going to grab the attention of the hiring manager or the recruiter. Applicant tracking systems will automatically disqualify candidates if certain buzzwords aren't being used. And unfortunately, when the system does that, the recruiter or the hiring manager won't even see your resume because it's automatically disqualified you. It's unfortunate, but that's why it's very important to tailor your resume specific to that particular position that you're applying for, to heighten your chances so your resume can be seen by a human and not being determined by a computer system.
Yes.
Let's see here. Once again, having multiple resumes will better your chances of landing an opportunity. Take the time, to have multiple resumes, to specify, different professions or different experiences that you may have that may tailor to that specific position that you're applying for. The goal is to get an interview, to get that job, to put money in your pocket so you can put food on your family's table. You got to take the time, to tailor your resume to that position. And I mentioned this earlier, a recruiter makes a decision on whether you will be presented to the hiring manager. You want to make that recruiter your best friend. That's extremely important. Okay. Mm-hmm. So any questions, guys?
If you're joining us and you're new, go ahead and say hello in the comments. Let us know you're here. But definitely, if you have any questions, go ahead and ask so that we can answer them live. And then that way everybody can kind of get that answer because somebody may be wondering the same thing. You never know.
Exactly. When it comes down to, resumes, you're not necessarily expected to, we don't expect you to be experienced in writing a resume, right? The biggest thing is to list your experience, listing your skill sets and things like that. But you want to take these tips and utilize these tips to properly build your resume. Like I said, the goal is you want that recruiter to give you a call. Once you get that call, you're selling yourself. I always say, I use the phrase, I put my presenter's hat on or my acting hat on, right? I get that call and I'm like, showtime, it's time to, talk about my experience. And don't be modest when you talk to the recruiters. You want to be detailed about your experience. You want to be detailed about your skills, about your achievements, because guess what? We may spend 30 minutes having a conversation with you, if it goes that far, because a recruiter knows from the conversation within the first 5 minutes whether or not they want to proceed further. So in those first 5 minutes, you got to give it to us. You got to give it to the recruiter to let them know, hey, I'm a perfect person for this position. So it's not the time to be modest or to hold back. You want to literally give them all you got within those first 5 minutes.
And see, I love it. And I'm going to see, because I think this can show up in the, Angela said, sell yourself and be positive. And that is exactly what you need to do. Sell yourself and be positive.
Because you want to be that individual to say, whether recruiters say, oh my gosh, he'll be great for such and such team. Oh my gosh, they fit right into our culture, or this is what we need at X, Y, and Z company. So, you have a recruiter that's been talking to dozens of people that day, right? Retired, and we're calling and like, oh, it's another person, right? And we get excited when we have someone on the other end that just brightens our day. That's bubbly, that's fun, that's full of life, and make our day, make the recruiters day. You want to be just as pumped and excited about this position as if you've already gotten an interview. So give that recruiter a reason to want to present you to the hiring manager. Yep.
Yes, ma'am.
So let's see here. So I'm not going to too much go over the resume format. You will have to attend one of our resume writing classes for that.
mm.
But I want to go over marketing your resume again. There are so many different sites out there where you can post your resume. You want to post your resume on every job search site that's out there that's available. You want to market yourself. You want to sell yourself. The resume is that electronic file that is presenting you, is presenting your skill set. So you want to be able to do that. So once you create that effective resume, guess what? It's time to present it to the world. You want to be found. And once you do that, like for example, I have a candidate, a client actually, not a candidate. She was one of my clients. She went through one of my resume writing classes, and she also went through my interview skills class. And I helped her prepare her resume. I helped her prepare her LinkedIn, updated it. We got it posted on multiple sites, Indeed, Career Builder, and Monster. She had just relocated from Florida, and she moved to Texas. By the time we redid her resume, I actually taught her how to research the company prior to going to the interview. Because guess what? There's a site called Glassdoor. 9 times out of 10, there's interview questions on there that they're going to ask you during the interview. So you want to prepare yourself before the interview. And I know I'm getting into interview skills and all that kind of stuff. I'm going off in a tangent, but you want to do that. Once she went through my resume writing and in my interviewing skills class and used the tips that I gave her, she had 3 job offers. She was able to pick and choose which job she wanted. That's the ultimate goal. Not to just get one job offer. The goal is to get multiple job offers. You want to be in a position where you're sitting back and saying, whoa, wait a minute. Which one am I going to choose? Versus being forced to accept this job because, okay, they gave me an offer. I got to take this one because I need a job. When you have an effective resume and you're posting it out there and you're marketing it properly, guess what? There's multiple companies coming after you. That's a good feeling to have multiple companies coming after you, having multiple job offers. And the only way you can get that is having that effective resume, marketing it well, and giving an effective interview.
Mm-hmm. Now let's talk about, okay, so when you were saying about them going on Glassdoor and researching the companies, now I'm a firm believer in, I kind of talked to my cousin about this too, because she's a college student, researching the company when you're writing your resume, because when you're tailoring your resume to fit those keywords, knowing the position that they're looking for and knowing about the company to help tailor your resume to fit in with what they're looking for.
That's right. That's most important, because guess what? Like, for example, you have other candidates who have interviewed for the position. They're saying, okay, they asked these questions, this was my response, possibly, so you want to use that information for your benefit. Mm-hmm. I mean, the internet is such a beautiful thing, and there's so many resources out there to help you effectively add information to the resume as well as giving an effective interview. The tips are out there. You just have to know where to go and utilize the resources that's given.
Especially when it comes to the verbiage, because I think a lot of people get hung up on when they're talking about the positions that they worked in, and they feel that they don't put the right verbiage in that to show those skill sets or to show what they've learned or pulled out of a position. So for instance, let's say you have an administrative assistant that also, because a lot of times when you work a job, you're doing multiple jobs with one title. You are. But you have so many skill sets because you work multiple positions under that one title that it could fit for several things. So a lot of people, let's say, and we're just going to use an administrative assistant, for instance, who does payroll, who does accounting. And now you get to take some of those skills and add those to your resume. But I think a lot of times people forget those small things because they're so fixated on, okay, I was an admin. But then when they're trying to detail what the admin duties they had, they leave a lot of things out because they don't know which part is important versus what to, you know what I mean? So I kind of always encourage people, if you just go and you look at what the hiring company is looking for, if that verbiage suits you, use it. Because if you had those skills, don't leave it out because you feel like, oh, they'll understand, because we don't understand. We don't know what you know. We only know what we see that you wrote down.
And then the biggest thing is it's a conversation piece, right? Yes. So if it's a system that the recruiter never heard of, or a skill set that, we're going to say, wait a minute, tell me about this system. I haven't heard about it. It's a great conversation piece. And once again, you bring up a great point, Abby, because don't be modest in your resume. If you've done it, you've done it. If you have the skill, you have the skill. Do not be modest when it comes down to your resume. List everything that you have done, because guess what? Yes, you're an admin assistant, but as a recruiter, to see that you did this duty and you had this task outside of your position, it's showing us initiative. It's showing us drive. It's showing us that you're willing to go above and beyond outside of your job duty. So you have some people that have the mindset to say, well, that's not in my job description. That's a bad mindset, right?
Yes, it is.
If you have that on your resume, it's showing that not only are you willing to do the job that you're assigned, but you're willing to learn more and bring more to the table. So you want to put it on there. List all that you've done on your resume.
And you definitely want to continue learning. Remember, the more you learn, the more you got to share and the more marketable you become. Learn all you can in the positions that you're in. Learn about other people's positions, again, because the more you know, the more you get to excel in other companies and succeed. So you definitely want to always continue to learn.
Yep, most definitely. Guess what? Hey, while I was working at Disney, I earned this certification. I participated in this training program. No, it wasn't required, but I knew that it will bring additional skill set for me possibly to get a promotion or to get a raise or whatever it may be. Or I just wanted to learn an additional skill set. Guess what? That shows initiative as well. There's a lot of companies that have free trainings and certifications that they offer their employees. Take advantage of that. You may not need it now. You may not be able to use it, but there have been many of certifications that companies have paid for me. And guess what? I got it. It's on my resume. I didn't have to pay for it.
Yeah.
And the next job I got was like, oh my gosh, you have the certification. We want you. So you want to be able to take advantage of any certification, any trainings that your company offers. Because guess what? You want to gain as much knowledge as you can so you can put it on your resume.
And speaking of that, having the extra certifications and learning and doing these trainings right now, and especially during COVID, there's a lot of colleges right now that are offering free courses that people can take advantage of. So I'm saying, take advantage of all you can while you can, because it just continues to make you marketable.
You know what? Harvard University is one. They actually have free online courses that you can participate in, and I believe a lot of them are self-paced, right? There are self-paced courses that you can take that are free, so what, whether or not it is feasible for a skill set that you're applying for, but guess what? That's something that you can add on your resume to say, hey, during COVID, I was unemployed or I just had extra time. I used that time to earn certifications. That says a lot about the type of individual that you are. At least, that's what it shows the recruiter or the hiring manager to be like, wow, Instead of you just lounging around, eating bonbons, you took the time and did the certification and ate some bonbons, so
Look, we're not going to touch on them bonbons, okay? Let me have my bonbons.
So yes, you definitely want to take advantage of those free certifications that's out there, whether or not it's with universities that's doing it. I actually, I earned one with UCF. I mean, will I use it? I don't know, but guess what? I have a certification that was free from a well-known university. Just take advantage of it.
Yes.
Most definitely want to do that.
Yes. Especially if you have the time. Take advantage. Because, I mean, you never know when you're going to see free ones again. And especially now that they're trying to offer them and they're trying to offer help and assistance to people, if you can take full advantage.
Yes. So most important,
yes.
yes. Now, most important, what you want to have on your resume is your name and contact information. You want to have a summary of qualifications. We talked about this last week about the objective statement. You don't want to have a cookie cutter objective statement that's something that you've pulled off of offline, right? Because guess what? Abby mentioned it last week. If you pulled it offline, there are going to be hundreds of other individuals that pull that same objective statement offline. So you want to have a summary of qualifications, right? That summary of qualifications will be just like a paragraph about you, about your experience, like a quick, kind of like an elevator speech, right? But it's put in on your resume in a paragraph. Once again, you want to have something in that summary that grabs the attention of the recruiter, right? So if they're reading the same objective statement over and over again, with every resume that they review, guess what? You're going to be rejected along with the other ones. You want to have originality on your resume. Your education. Definitely want to have your education on there. Not just, your degrees or your high school diploma. You want to have certifications that you've earned. Your skills. And these skills aren't just, basic skills. You want to talk about the fact that, okay, I'm going to review something. You want to, management skills, customer service skills, development skills. Organization. You want to list all of that on there, even if, strong internet research skills. That's a skill to say, you know what? I don't know the answer to something. I can find it. I can research it. That's a skill you want to have on there. And then program knowledge, of course you have Word, Excel, PowerPoint. You want to list that on there, Microsoft Office. But then any programs or databases that you've used with companies that you work for, list it. Whether or not it is feasible or it's the same program that the company that you're applying for. But a lot of these programs, they have different names, but they function the same. Then, of course, your job history. On your job history, you want to list your title, the name of the company, the dates. People want to know, the recruiters want to know the location, whether or not it was in Florida or whether or not it's in California. We want to know the location, but most importantly, you want to have the dates and you want to make sure that those dates are accurate. Because guess what? They're going to, call and verify whether or not those dates are accurate. So you want to have accuracy. Also, you do want to explain gaps on your resume. If you say, hey, there was a 6-month gap between this position and the other. In between that, put, hey, I had to take care of a sick parent, or I was laid off during this time. Whatever the reason is, you want to just go ahead and explain the gaps right out of the gate. Explain it on your resume. Also, if it was a contract position, so let's say you were on a 3-month contract or a 6-month contract, you want to put on there that it was a contract position, because you don't want the recruiter or the hiring manager to think that you're a job hopper. So if it's a contract position, list it. So you want to kind of explain as much as you can on your resume so you won't get rejected.
I love Alejandro said knowledge plus skills are good, but the attitude multiplies. And yes, that is true. Having knowledge and skills is definitely a plus. And attitude is everything, especially when a recruiter calls. It is everything.
Yes, it is. I have had candidates that I talked to over the phone and they didn't meet the skill set, right? They weren't the individual that I was looking for, but I liked them. Like, I really liked them. We had a great conversation. I love their personality. And I have gone above and beyond for those candidates that just was like, you know what? I got to find them something. Because I know they're going to not only do well for the company, but they're going to make me look good, you know? So candidates, recruiters are big on dealing with candidates that we know that's going to make us look good. We want to bring on credible, positive, and awesome candidates or employees to the company. So we're very big on that. So you want to wow the recruiter.
Yes, indeed.
Any questions, anybody, that you want me to answer tonight?
Alejandro asked, do we get tired of talking?
No, not at all.
We just keep going.
9 times out of 10, we're going to hang up from this meeting and we're going to be on the phone for another hour. No, we don't get tired at all. This is what we do.
When you love what you do, you don't get tired.
That's right. That's right. But yes, guys, I want you guys to take advantage. We will be having another resume writing class and probably in another month or so. Take advantage of that course, right? During our course, we actually walk you through on how to effectively write a resume. So by the end of the course, you will have a completed resume. That's our goal. You will have your resume. Yes.
Alejandro got a question. He said, okay, what do you think about the phrase, the money is not all, it's just a tool? And I will say I'm a firm believer in that phrase, because money is not everything. You can right. go and you can apply for a job and you can land that job, but that job will not make you happy. If you're miserable and you took that position just for money, you will not last there very long.
You won't. And I have walked away from companies. Well, I'm going to say this. I have researched companies. I've had multiple job offers, right? And when you have multiple job offers, you're going to write out the pros and cons, right? Mm-hmm. So you're going to research a company. You're going to go on and look at the reviews and see how other employees think and feel about the company. Because guess what? Money is not everything. You could be making the money, but you're miserable. You're dreading going to work. You're laying in the bed, feeling like, dang, I have to go into work. You want to be happy where you work. You want to be able to enjoy what you do. Because guess what? If you don't enjoy it, it's going to reflect in your work. It's going to reflect in your job, which ultimately may get you fired. And then guess what? You have a bad mark. So you want to enjoy and be happy with. And that really goes to career-wise. Sometimes we go for that degree because it's like, oh, it makes a lot of money. There's so many individuals that I talk to who've earned a degree to say, you know what? I don't like it. I talked to a psychologist. She earned her degree in psychology. I talked to her last week. And she said, you know what? I'm finished, but this is something that I don't want to do. And ultimately, it was because, I can make a lot of money. Mm-hmm. You have to ensure that what you are doing is going to make you happy. Don't always look at the dollar amount.
Exactly. I've turned down job offers. I've turned away positions. It's not always about a dollar. And
Right.
again, if it's gonna cause you misery, there's no point in doing it because you're never gonna be happy. So definitely, I'm a firm believer in money is not everything.
Yep.
You're welcome, Alejandro.
Yes. And then at the same time, since we're talking about money, don't sell yourself short when it comes down to a job offer.
Mm-hmm.
We recruiters, we pretty much expect a counter offer. It's okay to negotiate the salary that was presented to you, because when we present you with that salary or with that offer, that's not our top salary. We have some wiggle room, right? So we're going to come back and you're going to say, well, I actually want $5,000 more a year, or $1,000 more, or I want a bonus. Guess what? We'll say, okay, let me see what I can do, right? But guess what? We already know that we can go up a couple of grand a year. So always negotiate when it comes down to the salary, if it wasn't set in stone in the beginning of the process.
Alejandro said, "I'm Mexican. The most that you're talking about, I don't understand, but I'm trying." And Alejandro, I want to say thank you for at least trying to understand. And I'm sorry that we don't speak Spanish.
But you know what, Alejandro, you're doing a great job, because your English when you type is fantastic. You're doing a great job. So
Yes.
I commend you on that. Great job. So yes, so tonight we covered, during the resume writing, we covered the myths. We covered common resume mistakes. We did the did you knows, which is very important. And I want to refresh your memory that the recruiter or the hiring manager only spends seconds reviewing your resume. So you want to non-competes.
Oh, yeah, yes. You saw it. I was about to stop you. I'm like, oh, we got a question, honey. She want to know about these non-competes.
Yes, non-compete.
That's a setup. You can't be coming on here asking that question.
Non-competes is something that you definitely want to follow. Will a company take the time to sue you because you went against a non-compete? Probably not, right? But do you want to take that chance? You don't want to take that chance going against a non-compete that you've signed. Some non-competes will pretty much, lock you in for maybe a year or two after you leave the company, saying that, okay, you can't, get a job or conversate even with one of their clients or their competitors or whatever it may be that they may write up. So you want to be very careful with non-competes. If that non-compete does not seem fair, I will not accept the position. You want to be very careful with those non-compete, because see, most people, they're so quick just to sign the new hire paperwork because they're excited that they got the position, right? But they're not knowing, if you leave that company, you're locked into that non-compete for a certain period of time. Now, if it's like 6 months, 3 to 6 months, that's okay. Sign that. That's no big deal. But I've seen a lot of non-competes that lock you into where you can't do anything that's attached to that company for a year or two. I would not sign something like that. I wouldn't even accept the offer. So you have to be very careful with those non-competes. Thank you for bringing that up, Alejandro. You know more English. Alejandro knows more English than he's leading on if he knows about those non-competes.
No, that was Angela. Angela asked that question.
Oh, Angela. Okay, gotcha. Thank you, Angela. Yes.
That's why I said she's trying to set us up. It's a setup.
Right. Now, I have a question, Angela. With the non-compete, have you come across any unfair non-competes that kind of made you raise an eyebrow that that you didn't want to move forward with? Because a lot of companies they try it. They definitely try it with those non-competes. And that's why myself, I have to be very careful what I say and what I disclose about particular companies that I've worked for, because of non-competes. And then, being in the HR field, there's an oath pretty much that you take. It's kind of like the HIPAA law, right? Well, we have an HR law or an oath that we take, that anything that we discuss with a candidate or, with salaries or anything personal when it comes down to their career, we can't discuss that with anyone outside of, the hiring manager or the HR team. So yes, so just like I was discussing before, you want to make your resume very effective, because a recruiter or hiring manager will only spend seconds reviewing your resume. Also, applicant tracking systems will automatically disqualify your resume if it doesn't have specific buzzwords.
Ooh. She signed a non-compete, but she's been with her company for 11 years. Oh, the non-compete was only for 2 years?
So her non-compete is for 2 years. Okay. Well, it looks like you're not going anywhere. You've been with the company for quite some time, but I don't know if I should say this. It's always a way to work around a non-compete. And I'm just going to say that. And I'm just going to leave it. I'm just going to leave it right there.
There's a loophole in everything.
Before I get in any trouble, it's always a way to work around a non-compete. Always. Yes. Any other questions that we can answer? This was an awesome night.
Yes, it has been. We are definitely grateful for those of you who have hung in there with us, and everybody who's commenting and asking questions and giving feedback. We're definitely excited about it, and we're happy that we can see the comments this time.
Yes, progress.
Definitely makes me happy that I can see these comments coming in, unlike last week.
And then, guys, if there's anything that, any questions that you may have that say, you know what, I forgot to ask that during Career Talk, feel free to message us, and reach out to us and say, hey, or if you have a topic, a Career Talk topic that you would like for us to discuss on a Wednesday, hey, we're open to ideas. Just shoot us the message and we'll try to include it in one of our sessions.
Absolutely. This has been phenomenal again.
Yes.
So you guys, if there is nothing else that you have for us, no questions, no comments, no concerns, we want to say thank you for joining us tonight for round 2 of Career Talk. It's definitely been fun, and we look forward to seeing y'all again next week. So join us again next week, next Wednesday at 9 p.m. for another session of Career Talk.
Thank you, guys. See you
guys.